Danny Meehan, and Dr. Mason West.
Welcome in, Bears fans, to this episode of Bear Bones. As always, I am Mason West and joined by Danny Meehan. Danny, how you doing?
What's up, Mason? Just hanging out, man. How about yourself?
Not too shabby. I am pretty excited. Football's back, right? We got a game tonight, a game Friday, and then, of course, we got to wait a while for the Bears game Monday. So this is a bit of a different show. It's always weird when you got to do kind of what we're doing here, the preview and talking about injuries and all that stuff this far out, but we'll do what we can.
Well, especially because the injury reports today are kind of meaningless. It was if they practiced. They didn't actually practice today.
Yeah, so it'll be quick. I mean, we'll talk about it just because to bring up what was there, but I mean, there's not a ton we can go off of for that exact reason.
Right.
But that means we can dive into our chart review. This is going to be where, and if you're new to the show, everything we do in here is a lot of puns, so I'd like it. Sorry, deal with it. But everything is very heavily based on the fact, right? I mean, I am a doctor of physical therapy. Danny has his exercise science background, so we really try to put a lot of that science aspect into this. So it's a good time. It's a good mix of all this stuff. In the chart review, we just talk about some storylines that happened in the week. Some of them I just power through just so you have them if you missed it. Other ones we'll spend a little bit of time talking about. First couple ones right here, like Bears removed Bill Murray and Ian Wheeler from IR with injury settlements, right? They both got hurt. You revert back to the IR if no one picks you up, and then more often than not, if the player feels that they don't want to be on this team or that they are not actually in that injured state, they will ask to be released, and you do, and then they try to find another team. Simple as that.
And it also frees up room on the salary cap.
That it does. Luther Burden changed his number to 10 after it being 87 and then from 13. So Burden has had 3 different numbers before taking his first NFL snap. Jahdae Walker also changed his number back to 20. Just kind of odd to flip-flop, especially with those 2 different guys.
Yeah, kind of strange. I think the 20 number for Jahdae is a little bit interesting because he's a wide receiver and 20 is like traditionally a DB or a running back.
Yeah.
But, I'm all for someone being different. Like if you want to be a linebacker wearing a 40s number or a 90s number or whatever, do what you want to do. I do find it weird when people get all oh, it's just so, why would you wear that number? I'm out. Okay, it's his number. The NFL changed the rules. Let them wear what they want, I guess. I don't really care.
I remember Tom Brady raging when they changed the numbers because he was like, it's just such an unfair advantage. I'm looking out there and I see a 10 where it's not supposed to be, or I see, a number 4 where it's like, just don't throw it to the other team. I don't know what you're talking about.
It'll never make sense to me, some of the things people get up in arms about.
All right, going on with some of our just general news from the week. The Bears, if you look and if you like RAS, I do. I think it's interesting. Obviously, it's not the end-all be-all, and this will highlight that a bit. They ranked number 4 overall for average RAS, that's relative athletic score, right, for 2025 with an 8.18, and who are tied for second for players over 8.0 with 34, and third for players under 5.0 with only 4. The teams ahead of them are the Colts, Eagles, and Browns. The Bears ranked 6th in 2024, so they're definitely continuing the trend they've been building on. You look at that, you're like, Eagles, that's super cool. Like, you want to be in the conversation with them, and you also see Colts and Browns, and you go, gross. You don't want to be in that list.
It is kind of interesting to see him specifically with the Colts because of who polls, holds in high regard, who is Chris Ballard, because they spent a lot of time in Kansas City with each other. I do want to caveat this. RAS is interesting, but I feel like it's not a lot, but a little less applicable than it used to be because so much of football is in a phone booth or in short area, and the ability to change direction or flip your hips and turn and things like that. And it feels like anymore, like a lot of these guys are abstaining from doing like the shuttle drills and the three cone drills where you are forced to flip, turn, and drive and reset. And it's like, it's a good indicator of like how truly like all around athletic you are, not just, hey, I go fast straight line. Because really in football, you're never, a sans being a sacrificial X or a gunner or something, you're never really going to be running straight line as fast as you can for that many yards in order to get up to that top speed.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's one piece of the entire conversation. Like, take Jack Sanborn. I mean, is he going to be your the best linebacker in the league? No, but he was a functional linebacker for the Bears, and I think he'll be a functional linebacker for the Cowboys. And his RAS sucks. Orlando
I think his RAS was like 7 something, which is very average, if not above. But yeah, but Orlando Brown, like you
Orlando
would say,
Brown,
was like
he had an awful combine, but he is a quality starting tackle.
I think the most famous one, like I think there's a baseline, like you can succeed as a football player if you're in the red. Like Jarvis Landry, like famously had a 0.19 like RAS, like, but had multiple, I believe, 100 catch seasons and was a really good slot receiver in the NFL. But what I'll say is, being a better athlete gives you more margin for error.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a lesser athlete, you're going to have less margin for error and rely much more on the football skill of it. So it's a harder life to live, but sometimes lesser athletes are better football players. Greater athletes are lesser football players and have different ways that they need to develop.
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it. I know the same thing when it comes to tackles and arm length. It's the same. The more margin for error just when you have that length on the edge, et cetera, et cetera. That goes for a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. The Bears created $8 million in space by restructuring cornerback Jalen Johnson's deal. They were way too tight against the cap. Anything they don't use, they can roll over into next year. You guys have got guys like Sweat, Moore, Dahlman, Jackson, Kmet, Swift. They all have fully guaranteed salaries anyway, so you should probably all see at some point those get converted and moved and shifted. Most key extensions for 2026 are already done. So after the Bears restructured Jalen Johnson's deal, they're just over $1.3 million in 2026 cap room. They're going to need a pretty big year from their 24 through 26 draft classes to make up for that lack of spending that they're going to have.
Yeah, and I would actually guess that come next year, if Jalen continues to play like a top 5 to 8 corner in football, you'll probably see him get a new deal anyway, because he'll probably end up sitting down, because I believe his guaranteed money is out after this coming year.
I think so. Speaking of Jalen Johnson, Wednesday, cornerback Jalen Johnson, who turns out he was dealing with a groin injury. We now get to know specifically what he had now that we get some actual reports and things. So he was back on Wednesday, and Kyle Monangai, and we'll talk about this a little bit when we pull up the training camp, the injury report today, but he was also back on Wednesday as well. And then there was a slew of players that came in for a tryout with the Bears. Some interesting ones. One was former Steelers offensive tackle Zach Banner, who last played in the NFL in 2021. A couple other names that were interesting. Miles Cole, defensive end of Texas Tech. Isaiah Foskey, that was probably one of the bigger ones that were talked about the last couple of days. Defensive end at Notre Dame, played with Dennis Allen, obviously with the Saints, has 0 sacks in 2 years. So kind of a bum, but I mean, he's a known bum by Dennis Allen. Kind of, I don't know how you want to look at that. And he fits the mold. A bunch of other people. The one thing I wanted to specifically highlight, I don't know if you want to dive in on Cole or Foskey at all, but they did not bring any running backs in for tryouts, as has been going on. And so it seems like what they have, the Bears are happy with in the running back room, or at least not happy. That's not the right word. They are fine.
Content.
Yeah.
Content. Yeah. I think Foskey's interesting because even with his lack of numbers, the room is so ill-equipped behind defensive end 1, Montez Sweat, and number 2, Dio Odangbo, that he would have a legitimate argument as being your first guy up in the rotation.
Yeah.
Because just simply, if nothing else, because of pedigree and familiarity with the coach. Like, it's really just how down bad that positional group is. The Banner thing is interesting, but I have to imagine for a guy that hasn't played in that long, if they were to sign him, even like just the practice squad, like that, his ramp up period would probably be quite long, right? Like he
It would
hasn't
have to be
played.
pretty sizable. I mean, like guys
Like,
struggle when they miss a couple of weeks, let alone 4 years.
yeah, like that's like the same thing when factoring in like even if they were to go out and sign one of these guys who's injured, like Zach Moss, let's say they give him a clean bill of health, like he played last year, but he would require ramp up because he hasn't played football. Like,
It's one of those things. It's like interesting more than anything, just in terms of again where he came from, who the guy is, things of that nature, more than anything. But yeah, it just shows. I think even though Braxton's your starter, it's not settled. Like, and then by settled, I mean it's there's still some unsuredness that's going on there.
I think it's more, and it should really say to you that they're not comfortable at all with the defensive end or the left tackle position because they keep trying to find an answer that can at least maybe even stop gap at some point in this season.
Well, and the part that's hard in terms of left tackle in particular and edge, and because there's a comment here, and Antonio Esparza said, looking back at the draft, polls not drafting an edge rusher is absolutely fire worthy. The thing that's tough with
they technically did draft an edge rusher.
They drafted Austin Booker 2 years ago.
Well, last year in the second round from Texas A&M. Technically, he's a defensive end. Is he any good? I don't know.
And that's another. So taking Shamar Turner this year, he's supposed to get after the quarterback. And the other thing when it comes to both left tackle and then edge is that both of those positions, the hit rates really, in terms of impactful players, is first round, maybe a dip your toe in the water in the second round conversation. And if you want to now start to go back through the picks, I mean, are you not drafting Rome, and are you taking one of the edge rushers in that class? Are you not taking Caleb Williams? Are you not, and you can start to play that game, and it's like, it's hard to find a perfect landing spot where you would have taken a left tackle or an edge.
I mean,
when you had Braxton functionally playing left tackle. And then when it comes to edge, which I agree, it sucks that there's a massive hole there. That's a problem. Don't get me wrong. I just have a hard time finding where you slide in that edge pick. When there were some swings, they were just late swings.
Right. And really, all things being equal, using the draft data, you're almost better, to your point, you're almost better punting on edge and tackle in the second round altogether and just taking like a fourth or fifth round flyer on like a freak of nature who has no football ability but is a freak.
Like, I was on the Jalen Hunt train, I will say that. And then he got snagged by the Eagles in the fourth round 2 years ago.
Fourth or fifth. Yeah, something like that. But it's like you're almost better off taking the surefire football players like offensive guard or running back or defensive tackle, something like that, something a little more translatable with a true based off film in the second round than you are like who is the Landon Dickerson, or no, from Arkansas. There's too many Landons in my brain this year.
Yeah.
And he went in the second round, but it's like he had nothing on tape really. It was more just a dart throw. Like that's something you would typically do in the fourth or fifth round, but because you're desperate, it's like, well, okay. And those premium positions are always going to get pushed up.
Always. All right. Chart review done. Training room roundup. Throw this up here. So we're going to talk about the Bears and the Vikings. Again, there's not as much that we can talk about as we normally do on the show, just because of where it falls in the week. But three individuals did not practice: Josh Blackwell, TJ Edwards, Roshan Johnson. The ones that stand out the most. I mean, Blackwell is very important into this team in ways that people don't think about in terms of special teams. But one of your starting linebackers with a hamstring, anytime you see soft tissue, I don't love that. And then someone in Roshan Johnson who we just have not seen this summer. We just have, because he's been hurt with this foot the entire summer, still not practicing.
Do we know exactly what's wrong with the foot? Even
no, we got
just
nothing.
a foot.
Yeah, that's all we have. Because again, in over training camp, they really don't have to tell you anything, and
yeah, they don't have to disclose it.
And even here in the powers that be that are the Bears media so far as I've heard, have not really asked heavily, like, hey, what is going on with Roshan's foot? So we got nothing right now.
Yeah, the big one that stands out isn't Roshan to me, even though that matters because he's probably your second best running back at this point. TJ Edwards being out is worrisome.
Because for one, you don't have a lot of depth behind him. It's because you're sliding Noah Sewell in, one would imagine, right?
I would guess that you're probably playing Noah at the mic and Terrell at the will, or Tremaine at the will, rather. Like, okay.
And so, and between the two of them, and we've seen this, we're hoping, right, that Tremaine's going to have a good year here just with the new defense and the difference in attacking. But at the end of the day, like, TJ's been the more consistent linebacker. And if he's not out there, that is really going to matter against this run game that the Vikings are going to have with both now with obviously Aaron Jones, but now Jordan Mason.
Yep.
Continuing on, like we talked about, Jalen Johnson. So he's listed as calf/groin. So he's got a little bit of both there. I'm thinking the calf popped up a little more recently than the groin. He's limited. And Kyle Nungai, hamstring, limited. I would, unless there's a setback, I'm thinking they both play, just based off what I'm hearing. Jalen's, I'd put him at like 90%. Nungai, I'm more like 75. And then Devin Duvernay and Dominic Robinson both practiced. Yay, happy days.
Huzzah.
All right, and then we're going to flip down some interesting stuff going on here. Really quickly, just Christian Darrisaw starting off with the tackle did not participate with a knee. That one popped up today. Xavier Scott didn't know that was a actual NFL player. Did not participate as well. Running back for the Vikings. Harrison Smith would be. I hate that man. He's had something weird going on. It's been listed as personal. And it's listed here as illness, but he has really not been participating for the Vikings for a bit now.
Yeah, I don't know what's exactly going on. I hope he's okay, all things considered. I mean, obviously, Bears fans have a bad taste in their mouth because he can border on the side of dirty, but he's still a tremendous football player. And hope he's okay.
Yeah, you don't want something bad. The Vikings have a bit of a hole behind him. I mean, they have tried to draft safeties and it has not worked out for them. Sign is an example of that. Behind Harrison Smith, I believe it's Theo Jackson might be the guy next man up behind him. If Harrison Smith can't go, that's quite big for the Bears in that matchup. And Darrisaw, again, big question. It just kind of popped up today. Now you're looking at a guy like, I'm looking at the depth chart right now. Justin School. I don't know even who that is playing your left tackle. Never heard of that man.
Sure, that's a person.
So keep an eye on that. It's a Monday game. It's Thursday. We don't have a lot of information. That's basically what we got for you. I wish I had more, but that's what happens when you open on a Monday night football game. All right, we are going to do our first break and then get into some more of the specifics of this game.
Ooh. Okay.
Crisp.
Whoa.
That's really good.
That one's really good too.
That was good.
That's like,
It's so refreshing. Like, it's so good to have right before we go play.
And it has,
like
like,
it
the-
really quenches your thirst.
And it has the right amount of bitterness where it kind of
Yeah,
like.
it's like not too sweet, not too bitter. That's what we were saying with the last one.
I like that. Mango
This one,
turmeric.
this one,
is my favorite.
this one's the best. This one's
No,
the best.
that one. Guys, we're gonna have to
no,
argue
no, I
over
like
this.
this
It's
one.
that one.
No,
I like that
this
one.
one's so good. This one's
I
so
actually,
good.
I used to drink
that one.
kombucha
This one is good.
5 a.m. before practice every day because it woke me up and it made me feel good before practice.
All right, that was the professional women's rugby team, or one of them, in the Chicagoland area, Chicago Lions. Kombucha is good enough for them. It's good enough for you. Kombucha is a premium performance-focused kombucha crafted specifically for athletes and active individuals. This revitalizing beverage blends the traditional benefits of kombucha with nutritional enhancements to support energy, hydration, and recovery. Made from organic teas and infused with natural electrolytes, kombucha offers a delicious and effective solution to maintain peak performance. better athletic performance, increased nutrient absorption, improved wellness, and improved cognitive stamina. Use code BEARGUTCHECK for 15% off your order. It's actually pretty awesome. I love this stuff. I'm still drinking it. And it is really good for you.
Kombucha is tasty.
It's pretty great. All right, knee-jerk reaction. This is one hot take we got going into next week. What you got, Danny?
For as much as we've all ragged on DeAndre Swift, I think he could be in for a big night. I don't know I don't know how much they're going to come out, gunning the ball around kind of thing. And I think they're going to want to attack with the running game a little bit, especially because we don't know the tackle situation on the left side. And a banged up Braxton could make life hard to get in a rhythm of a passing attack. So I would venture a guess we'll see 80+% of snaps going to DeAndre Swift, and I could foresee a decent game coming his way of like maybe 120 total all-purpose yards and throwing a touchdown or something like that.
Yeah, I think you got like a whisper of that when you look at that Chiefs preseason game. I mean, when it was the first team out there, it was obviously there was a lot of injuries and stuff going on too, but it's not like that's changing at all right now. I mean, Swift was getting a big bulk of the carries, and he did at least try to run straight ahead. There were some holes. I mean, he bounced a couple, but he actually really did try to stick his nose in there, so I'll give him that.
Mm-hmm. He's going to bounce. He's always going to bounce.
He's always going to bounce. But then you get the ones like he had on that. He bounced one and he had a sizable gain on it. But it's just, can Ben Johnson get him to every once in a while to be like, dude, we need 2nd and 6. Like please.
Like, yeah, please just get what's taken or take what's given. Like, that's it.
My knee-jerk reaction: Bears O-line will be okay, because I feel like Caleb needs more consistency up the middle versus the edge. He's just one of those quarterbacks that I think can get away with, and we've seen him do this, whether it's the spin out, whether it's how he moves in the pocket. We know, yes, he led the league in sacks and all that jazz last year. This isn't hiding from that. But I think for him, if you're going to pick a spot, whether you're talking about up the middle or off the edge, he would rather it come from off the edge than necessarily up the middle. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to dig into this on something else going forward, but I think because of that, it'll be okay. I'm not saying amazing, but I think a lot of people are like freaking out about left tackle. Definitely an area of concern, but it's better than having a turnstile at center or guard for Caleb specifically.
Right. It's the same thing with my DeAndre prediction. 120 all-purpose yards is not a ton of yardage. It's a good amount, but it's not like he's going nuts.
Yeah. We're like, it's okay. It's not great. We're okay.
It's okay.
To be perfectly honest, here comes all the puns. You gotta love it. Something brutally honest. Mine is, I don't trust JJ McCarthy in any way. I know, like, I'll eat my words potentially come Monday night, but I think when you look at what was going on this offseason, the fact that he had in last year, he had a revision going on with that knee surgery, one that should be a very simple knee surgery. The fact that they were flirting with Aaron Rodgers, I think you don't do that if you're confident in whether it's the health or what's happening on the field. And then they ended up trading their backup quarterback away, Sam Howell, and they brought in Carson Wentz. Now, I think part of it is they kind of looked at and said, we can get some value out of this guy. And it wasn't a lot. They got like a 5th round pick for him. But to me, also, I think there's some layers of, well, we can have if we need a break in case of emergency, Carson Wentz is a professional at this point backup, has shown to be able to lead offenses. Sam Howell just chucks the ball down the field and it's either touchdown or interception kind of thing. So I think there's enough breadcrumbs here that show you that I don't think the Vikings necessarily fully trust him either.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. And I actually do find it interesting, like you said, that they changed backups like just willy-nilly. Just gave away Sam Howell and then brought in Carson Wentz. But like you said, that also could just be the Kevin O'Connell thing. Like, if I fix this guy, I can fix that guy in a pinch. Like, there's a level of arrogance to it, but we also have a level of reason to believe he can probably do it to some extent because of what he did last year with, Sam Darnold.
He's got a fun swagger kind of arrogance to him, though. Like, it's one of those ones where you feed off of it. It's not like the pompous, like, oh, this guy sucks. Like, you're just a a nuisance to be around. So it's
Right.
kind of you hear Kevin O'Connell talk and he just exudes it, and it's in a cool way though. What was your, to be perfectly honest?
Honestly, it was coming off the injury report. The TJ Edwards thing, I think, matters. That's kind of your play.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
that's your green dot on defense. That's your play caller. That's your best for all intents and purposes. Your linebacker, the guy they just gave new money to. And
Yeah.
And I just don't love how that feels, especially with a guy in Kevin O'Connell is going to commit on some level to running the football, especially with a young quarterback who's never taken an NFL snap in a regular season game before in JJ McCarthy.
And you're missing, you're missing Jordan Addison. That's another layer to it too. That takes away from your pass game. Yeah.
Yeah. And even their starting tight end, TJ Hawkinson, is no slouch as a blocker. You know that they're going to come out with some level of, we're going to run the ball with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. And it feels a certain kind of way, because I feel like we could see a few times on the field, like, oh, it's 2nd and 6, just get a stop here, keep them at 3rd and medium or whatever, and we can get off the field on 3rd down. And it's like, you might not be able to do that because you just don't have your sure-handed tackler. If he ends up not playing, but that was my initial, just to be perfectly honest. I think he matters more than he should, because your linebacker depth isn't that great, and isn't that great as being very nice in the terminology.
The silver lining I'm going to throw out there, and this is like I'm pulling kind of thing, is that Noah Sewell had a really good training camp and looked much better in the preseason than he has in the years past. I think part of it has been like injury for him. He just wasn't able to stay on the field. So he looked good. And so maybe you're hoping this would be a bit of a coming out party a little bit for him, again, on the national stage, that he can cement himself a little bit more as like, I'm a quality backup. TJ Edwards goes out. Yes, there's still, the Vikings will still get theirs, but like, it's not a gaping hole. So fingers crossed on that.
Yep. No, Noah showed some promise in the preseason for sure.
Keep it rolling. Well, ain't this humorous? Something a little quirky or funny. What you got?
A little bit quirky or funny. I mean, it's kind of hard to have it this early in the year. I feel like we don't have anything really to go off of. There's no baseline, but quirky or funny, I do find it like kind of humorous. The national talking points still around Caleb going into the league. Like just today, you had Carm on CHGO saying with Bajent they might go 10-7. With Caleb they're going 7-10. Like what are we doing? Why is this a talking point already when we haven't even seen a regular season snap? Like it's funny, but it's also annoying, and I'm tired of these stupid talking points.
I did not see that, and I'm very glad I didn't, but that's stupid. That's just stupid. Like and don't get me wrong, I like Tyson Bajent. And the way he operates, he can operate an NFL offense consistently, but at the same time, remember when he started, he went 2-2, and he had, what was it, like 2 touchdowns and like 6 interceptions or something like that. And yes, he's also was a rookie. He's going to get better as well. We know this, but let's not pretend that he's something he's not. Like,
why can't we celebrate him being an undrafted free agent who's made himself a legit NFL backup instead of trying to make the guy who just signed a $5 million a year extension a starter?
That's pennies in terms of quarterback. Like,
that's not what I'm saying. Like, why can't we just accept that the kid is from West Virginia, went to Shepherd University, and just signed a 2-year, $10 million extension off of this year? Like, and celebrate that. That's a great find.
Yeah,
but don't elevate it to what it isn't.
And don't get it twisted. I have a Superflex Dynasty League that actually I added him to because I had an empty roster space too. But that's because I'm planning 2 years down the road in this Dynasty League in Superflex that someone might take a chance on Bajent to be a starter at some point. And so it's like a whole thing. It's not because I think he's starting this year or that he's going to be a messiah for some team.
If he's ever starting games for the Chicago Bears, one of two things happened. Caleb got hurt or Caleb was awful. There's no middle ground to this.
Yes, those are the 2 things. All right, my ain't this humorous. in the last 4 games against the Vikings, where Flores was defensive coordinator, Ben Johnson's offense has averaged 30 points per game. Across those 4 games, the Lions' offense averaged 387 total net yards.
Jeez.
Obviously, the Bears are not the Lions. The O-line from the last 3 years, nor Gibbs and Montgomery or Amon-Ra St. Brown are not walking through that door and onto that field Monday night. But the national chestiness that many are clamoring for, the barely favored Vikings to beat the Bears, seems like often kind of just funny to me. I actually went back and I watched that last game of Lions against the Vikings. Goff played well, don't get me wrong, but you could tell it was the way that that offense was designed that just really was able to counteract what Flores was doing. And I think that will continue in the Bears Caleb way, that Ben Johnson just kind of seems to have Flores' number. And so why are we doing this?
Yeah. I would agree in some capacity. I think a lot of it just has to do with that was year 3 in that offense kind of thing with Goff, and not just
That
the
is
weapons,
100%.
the continuity and the comfort and everything. I would expect them to look like an NFL off. Look, I expect the offense to look like not the Bears offense that we're traditionally used to seeing as Bears fans. Like, just be not the Bears and play real NFL football, and I think it's going to look that way going forward, but I think you're going to see growing pains and hiccups and mental gaffes and mistakes because it's a complex, hard offense, and everyone has said so. This isn't like something where they're just going to make it easy, but I do expect it to look better, and I do expect them to put up some points and some yards. Not me doing the thing on this show every week where it's like, can you get 20, please?
What was the streak? Was it they didn't score on their opening drive? For the entire season, almost the entire season.
Yeah, it was like something like, or like week 17 or 16, they finally they never held the lead in the first quarter, I think is what it was.
It was
something goofy. Like, just, oh my God, this is awful.
All right, another break coming at you. Game on. Week 1 starts now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This isn't just football. It's first touchdown fireworks, anytime touchdown rushes, and live bets that ride every momentum shift. At DraftKings, every play is your next shot to win. Right now, you can get Kyle Monengai anytime touchdown score at plus 600, and you can get a first touchdown score at plus 2,800. Or you feeling saucy? Make a parlay with Colson Loveland at minus 144 over 25 receiving yards. DeAndre Swift rushing yards over 131, plus 131 with over 60 yards. And minus 106 Caleb Williams passing yards over 220. Lines and odds are subject to change. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code GRIDIRONPOD, GRIDIRONPOD. That's code GRIDIRONPOD to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, fees may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
All right, what you need to know. Just some important stats and questions that we have coming up out of this game. The Vikings versus Bears rivalry began in 1961, the Vikings leading the all-time series 65-58-2 in the regular season and 1-0 in the playoffs. In the first game of the series last year, the Bears lost a heartbreaker in overtime 27-30, and then the wheels fell off in December and they lost 12-30. A couple questions we have about this matchup I have for you, Danny. How important is this game for the Bears?
To me, I think it's, if you were to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, like probably like a 7, 6.5, a 7. I think it's fairly important. Get off on the right foot, show you can compete with one of the better teams in the conference. Like, I know with JJ McCarthy's there, and no one expected them to win 14 games last year with Sam Darnold, but they did anyway. This is a legitimately good football team who is coached very well. You could argue that due to lack of drafting success under Kwesi, they are prime for regression, because if you look across the board, they're old and expensive, which is never a good way to go through life in the NFL.
Yep.
But Kevin O'Connell is still that guy at head coach until proven otherwise. And you sometimes just need to win a game you're not supposed to win. I get it that Minnesota's slightly like a 1.5 favorite or something like that, right? Or last I checked, I thought it was something like that.
1.5, yeah.
And I saw some of Bears Twitter, and I saw some in our chats like being like, it's ridiculous that the Vikings are favored. How? The Bears have won 5 games on average the last 3 years. The Vikings have won like 27 games the last 2 years. Like, stop. It's totally reasonable for them to be slightly favored. And the only reason it's that low is because the uncertainty behind who JJ McCarthy is and all the reporting going on, that he just simply doesn't get it yet in Minnesota after being a year there in that same system with that same coach. Like, I think it's totally reasonable for them to be favored. And I think it's also totally reasonable to, as a Bears fan, to expect them to play hard and win the game. You've got the Prince who is named at quarterback. You got the Golden Goose at head coach now in Ben Johnson. And you've had all offseason to prepare for week 1. Go. Win a game. Like,
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think overall, yes. If you had to say who the game is more important for, I'd say it's more important for the Bears to get off on the right foot for the season than the Vikings.
Agreed.
Necessarily. If you made this a binary thing, right, red, green, in terms of positions, the Vikings would be filled with greens at almost every position besides probably quarterback and maybe left guard, because they have the rookie Donovan Jackson, and then we'll see what happens with Christian Darrisaw. We'll see what happens with Harrison Smith, but with everyone healthy, right, if that team is filled with the greens versus for the Bears, you have a good chunk of greens, but there's also some reds. We know that, so it's not crazy to be dogs by 1.5. Also, it's the week 1 spread. We don't have any information. All we have is what we know about your team from last year, and then what we think we know based off the things you've done. The Bears haven't shown anything yet, so
there's a benefit of the doubt, right?
Exactly. So show me. You have to show me before we can believe. I think. I hope. The information, the breadcrumbs are all there, but we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question for you. I already lost my spot. There we go. All right. What is the worst case scenario that could happen Monday night, but you would still go to bed that night feeling okay about it for the Bears?
Say that one more time. What is the
worst case scenario that would happen Monday night, but you would still feel okay about it going to bed, waking up the next day?
Okay, so in my worst case scenario for how I'd wake up to feel better would be they win the game in a defensive stalwart, but the offense looks totally inept, but they still won. Like, I know some people would feel much better if they lost a shootout and whatever. I don't believe that losing makes things better. Like, winning cures all eventually, and eventually winning will lead to progress amongst other things. So for me personally, I'm not saying my take or my view on this is right, but the worst case scenario that I'd end up waking up feeling better about is you won. The offense didn't look right. Caleb looked shaky, but you still won. You played a hard defense with a good defensive play caller, arguably the best defensive play caller in football. But you still came away. Get it back together. Let's move forward.
I think the one other one that I throw out, and that might be a step below in terms of worse, is if you came in with a loss, but it was one of those. It's one of those like Bills Chiefs.
It was a moral victory.
Games, one of those Bills Chiefs games where it's like you just got outdueled at the very end, like time just ran out on the clock kind of losses, where it is 30-27, and the
I can
the
see that.
Vikings just happened to have the ball last, and Aaron Jones ran a screen for a touchdown that you were just like, how did that happen? But it was just a gaffe. It's one of those kind of situations. But yours, I would say, like, is right there too, where Caleb is shaky, up and downs, had some good, had some bad. Because like the one that's now below in terms of now I just feel bad about it is we see 4 sacks. Like I can't. The sacks need to be done for me. I can't do that.
I think we just all need to reconcile his Bear. It's going to be like the Fields thing or whatever. He's going to take sacks.
But there's a difference in sacks. Like take Jaden Daniels. If
Sure.
he takes a sack where he's moving and he loses a yard or two because he's able to wiggle his way, up, and now it's 1st and 12 for the sake of argument instead of the sacks where we see, and then yes, Caleb is still going to do those ones where it's the Madden sack where he's trying to make a play and he loses 6 yards, but that can't be the average sack. That's my.
You're saying don't do the Shador take a 24-yard sack thing?
Correct. I would love if you don't do that. All right, last question for this section, and then we'll move on. In terms of the 4 play callers, right, for on the offensive defensive side in these two teams, rank them in order from who you're most confident in to who you're least confident in.
So, all right. So, ranking what from most confident, least confident?
Rank the play callers.
Oh, geez. That's hard because all 4 play callers on both sides are really good.
And that's weird. It's weird to be a Bears fan and be like, hey, like I'm actually confident in
like
both my
historically, like honestly, so I have justification on this. I thought I heard you right. I just wanted to make sure I heard what you said correctly.
100%.
At the top, I would probably put KOC just because he's the head guy. The offense has been humming. They've made it work with Sam Darnold was one of 5 guys over 4,000 yards last year. Like, look, this isn't a Sam Darnold like is amazing thing. This is a Kevin O'Connell knows what the fuck he's doing thing. Under him, I'd actually probably go. I might be inclined to say Dennis Allen because he is year over year like just one of the best play callers in football and doesn't necessarily need.
You've seen it before.
I've seen it before in historical, and not just for 3 years. He did this with Denver. He did this with the New Orleans Saints the first time. He did it again last time as their defensive coordinator and then again as their head coach. Like, I would probably throw Allen there. And I would say just because of what Ben Johnson has done to Flores, I would say Johnson is 3 and then Flores is 4. And this isn't an indictment on any of them. It's just literally these are 4 really good play callers.
This is one of the, and I will ask this question because it was one of the first times I could confidently ask this question and not put the Bears offensive play caller easily at 4. And then I'm trying to figure out the rest.
Right. How would you rate then?
How would I rate it? Okay, I would agree with Kevin O'Connell. He's done it with Kirk. He's done it like you said with Sam Darnold. He clearly knows what he is doing, and schematically as the leader, et cetera, et cetera. I would put Ben 2.
Okay.
And that is just, and the reason I give him the nod, and then I put Dennis, and then I put Flores. And I think, like you said, I'm putting Flores at the bottom because of what Ben has done to him. I think Dennis consistently has been able to just run a more straight up and aggressive defense without all the crazy bells and whistles that Flores seems like he has to do. The reason I just happen to put Ben over Dennis Allen, and this isn't even maybe like a necessarily Dennis Allen issue, is I think we saw Ben Johnson with Jared Goff, who was pretty much a castaway, right, have a top 5, if not top 3, in terms of most of those advanced metrics, EPA per play, all those things. And that's pretty astounding. And then with Dennis Allen, it's more of I don't know if he has enough pieces. Does he have enough ingredients to make the soup right now in terms of what he needs to get pressure and things of that nature? Which is, again, is not even an indictment on Dennis Allen.
Right. The only thing I would posit is last year he had guys like Brian Brisset who had a 45 PFF grade, which again, PFF grades are just a way to kind of get a gauge of where this player is, but that player also had 10 sacks. So he's scheming things well with
correct
lesser talent. No, I don't think there's a quote unquote wrong. Like, if you sat here and told me dead in the face that you think Brian Flores is the best play caller in this group, I could hear out an argument because he is just very good at what
he's
he
a
does.
mad genius in terms of what he's doing.
I mean, he's my personal favorite defensive play caller in football, just because he's nuts.
One of the things I was listening to the Athletic Football Show, and there was like this whole trends thing that they were talking about when Robert Mays was doing his tour around, and a bunch of coaches specifically said that they think that they're going to see things more like what Brian Flores is doing because it's so difficult to play against. Like that defensive coordinators are going to try to do what he's doing.
Yeah, him and Gannon are like the only two of their kind.
All right, love it, hate it, rehabilitate it. Matchup or specific dynamic that we love for the Bears, one we hate for the Bears, and one that if you were the coach, you would have focused on fixing for this week or this year. I guess it's week one. It's a little bit different. What do you love?
Pretty straightforward. The Bears wide receivers and what this passing game could look like against a haphazard, awful set of DBs, especially if Harrison Smith is not there to be the captain back there.
You mean you're not pumped about Isaiah Rodgers and let's see here. Jeff Okuda, who's on his like fifth team, and
Since
again
being drafted.
Yeah, Joshua Metellus. Like you're not getting excited about those individuals.
No, believe it or not, Mason, I'm not.
I think that's an excellent choice. The thing I love is quarterback versus quarterback, and I know I get it. Like I understand where people point to some of the, you can say, empty stats when it comes to Caleb and the low bar when it comes to Bears quarterbacks. But at the end of the day, I still, right now, as things sit, would 10 out of 10, 1,000 out of 1,000 times take Caleb over JJ McCarthy right now. And it's nice to have matchups that I can say that about because there have been Bears years where that was not the case. So if it comes down to a quarterback duel where it's like on the shoulders of the quarterback, I'm taking Caleb.
Sure.
I'll just go into my hate. My hate is the Vikings run defense against this Bears run offense. When you look at the front that you have for the Vikings, it's very different than what you're talking about for their defensive backs. So, I mean, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, that entire front, it's a good front. Andrew Van Ginkel was a guy that was kind of an afterthought until he got to Minnesota, and then Flores has figured out how to really weaponize him as an individual. Jonathan Allen was hurt a lot last year, so people have kind of forgotten about his name a little bit, but he is still a very functional player, more in obviously the passing game, but he can definitely stop the run. And you just can't forget about Hargrave and Grenard. Hargrave, again, people were a little hotter on his name a couple years ago, but he is still a very good football player. So
Jonathan Allen is still there too.
And
I'm not saying Allen's great, but
you combine that just with I like the offensive line, but we just talked about it. The running backs, nothing, and we didn't even talk about what you're probably if Roshan Johnson can't go, you're probably elevating Britton Brown, who looked like it's just like he looked fine in the preseason, but it's nothing that I'm getting randy about. So I just don't. I hate it. What about you?
Kind of in a similar vein, but the defensive play caller and how he could deploy the pass rush against a left tackle that's still very much clearly coming back from injury. I don't care if he deploys Grenard or Van Ginkel. He could make life very, very, very hard and make Tooney almost overcompensate to try to help. Now, I will say I know Ben had a lot of help out there for Taylor Decker, who's left tackle in Detroit. Like he consistently had chip help or whatever, but that also then takes away a target. You don't want to be consistently doing that and delaying a target getting out into the field or completely outright taking him off the field if you're just saying, hey, Cole, you're a blocker on the left side today, pal. That's it. If that's what he has to do, I think that's what he will do just to protect his quarterback. But I don't feel great about Van Ginkel or Grenard lining up over Braxton at this moment because I think that could make for a very, very long night, especially with how Flores does call his defenses. It could be stunts, it could be blitzes, it could be anything.
Well, and the thing that so I'm going to just wrap mine in because my rehabilitate was the left tackle versus the Vikings edge talent. And I titled this The Battle of Many because exactly as you said, I think it's going to have to be the chip help from your tight ends. It's going to have to be the running back staying in, whether that's full time or on the chip. And that's really what you're going to have to do. And then there's going to be the occasional play where you say, "Hey, Braxton, this is on you. You make this work." What Flores' defense does to you, right, is it shows an all-out blitz and then drops 8 into coverage, right? It shows we got 8 in coverage, and then all of a sudden it's an all-out blitz. You're rotating from cover 2 to cover 3, and they're just doing it in this very hopefully amorphous way. We have to see if that's going to happen again this year, since they have changed a lot of their defensive backs and things of that nature. But yeah, to your point, where's the pressure coming from? Can you pass it off? Does Braxton have the mobility to be able to think that the pressure's coming on the outside, but actually it's on the inside, so he's got to step in? We saw 3 different times in the preseason that he was not able to do that. So I'm right there with you. I mean, that's why I put it as my rehabilitate.
And my rehabilitate, kind of going off of that and off your hate it with the running game, is rehab the running game. I think it's possible Swift has a good job, has a decent game, and it has maybe even an okay year. I was a big Swift fan until I got to it's like it was the DeMar DeRozan thing for me as a Bulls fan. You like the player until you got to deal with him every week or every game.
From the outside, it was great.
and then you get him on your team and you're like, I kind of like this every day.
This is fun when I just turned on the TV and I was like, that was cool. And then I got to move on.
So, and DeAndre is maddeningly frustrating, but I hope the rehab is the line is better, and Ben just schemes with Dan Rauscher just a better blocking scheme.
Yes.
Like that's the hope, but I don't want to say I hate it because I think it's going to be better because addition from subtraction. Like, hey, you've got Ben, you got Rauscher, you got a whole new running game with largely the same running room.
And you have some very smart offensive linemen and like Drew Dahlman and Tooney.
Right. So my hope is that's better now, but I need to see it fully in action to say, hey, it's been rehabilitated, so I can maybe love it going forward. But right now, I think it's firmly in the rehabilitated based off of what we have seen to this point, going back to last year and some in the preseason, which is just not a fair baseline.
Yeah. When
you're pushing around guys who are now working at like T-Mobile.
X factor for the Vikings. I put for them, it's about, and it's kind of just essentially what the Flores defense does in a way: create pressure and get Caleb to second guess what he is seeing and muddle the picture. If they can do that, you're hoping that you are forcing sacks. You're hoping that you're getting the offense to stall, because you want to create some shorter fields for JJ so that they can run the ball heavier, right. They can control the clock and things like that. It's that compound effect, right? You want to get out early. You want to be leading 14-0, 17-0 or 3 by like halftime, so that you can just grind that clock out and slowly bring JJ along this year, instead of being like, you have to go win us games.
Right. My X factor is kind of like 2-1. As I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's KOC becoming the brain of JJ McCarthy on the field. We've seen for years Shanahan do it until I think Purdy gets almost a bad rap now, where people don't appreciate how good he's become. But early on with Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo under Shanahan,
McVay with Goff,
McVay with Baker Mayfield for a start, where he was there for 4 days and they won the football game or whatever.
Hey, don't besmirch Baker Mayfield in this podcast. I love that man.
But so like KOC into McCarthy on the field, where if he can point and shoot, I think if he can do that and just literally just do what play says, if not X, then Y, if not Y, then Z, like if he just does exactly how it's designed and he can just be the KOC's brain on the field with his attributes, I think that could end up being the X factor, because he is so good at what he does.
And arguably, I mean, right, that is what McCarthy did in Michigan. It was not a lot of throwing. It was a lot of run. And then when it's like, hey, when we're going to throw, it's here, or dump it out. Like that was what Michigan was.
Correct.
All right, keep it rolling. What's your X factor for the Bears?
Are we only allowed Caleb once a year still? Because otherwise it's always going to be Caleb.
No, you can do it, Caleb.
I'll say I'll deviate from that for now. My X factor for the Bears, because I think the offense is going to look good enough early on because of the attention to detail, like minus the gap or the mental error here or there. I'm going to go defense this first one. And I think Montez Sweat being the Montez Sweat we saw the second half after his acquisition versus what we saw all last year could be a real multiplier for this defense. If he can be not even elite, but just very good. Like, because he wasn't even very good last year. And I know he was hurt and was dealing with things, but he was merely fine. And you don't pay $25 million a year for fine. He has to be very good.
Yes.
At a baseline.
I had something different. Actually, I'm going to change this. I'm now saying how well can the Bears convert plays that in theory should be, a 3-yard catch and it becomes a 12-yard reception. It's that 12-yard catch that becomes a 40-yard one, right? So can you get the ball into your playmaker's hands in a way, right, where, as you just said, right, it's the yards after catch, right, that you can stack, so creating explosive plays that way. That's something that the Lions are very good at because you had a lot of runaway guys. I think DJ Moore is a very good runaway guy. OZ is a very good runaway guy. Luther Burden is going to be, as far as we can tell, a very good runaway guy. Rome's probably one of the only ones that doesn't fully fit that mold and that thought process. Depending on the matchup, Colson Loveland can be a good runaway guy, depending on who's on him. So it's about, right, get the ball in your playmakers' hands and let them, yes, it seems like a 4-yard gain, but it becomes 9, 10. How many of those plays can you stack?
Correct. Agreed.
All right. Over-unders. Presented by DraftKings of the North. See what I did there? I got Bears total rushing yards over under 102.5.
Rushing under. Slightly, but just under. Because I think they're going to implement a lot of the screen game to almost like supplement the run game. Kind of like what the Buccaneers did last year for Baker. Like, we don't run the ball well with Rachaad White, but this is before they discovered Bucky could play. And
Bucky Hive.
And then they just really had one of the best screen games ever put on film. So, yeah.
The Bears averaged last year 102 yards per game. So, super fun there.
Lit.
Viking sacks, 2.5.
Oh, it's a hard number.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get 3, so over.
Lame. This is a pick'em. And I made this before we saw what was happening here, but let's pretend that Roschon Johnson's going to play for the sake of argument. It's a pick'em touches between Roschon and Monangai.
Monangai.
Yeah. I'm not even sure that Roschon's playing at this point, so whatever.
I would actually doubt it, and honestly.
I am putting a doubtful on it.
Yeah.
Receptions for Justin Jefferson, 7.5.
Ooh. Coming off that, I actually think him and Jalen are going to be like on a pitch count of sorts, coming back from those soft tissue injuries. But I would say slightly under, like 6 or 7.
And this is another pick'em. Passing yards. Caleb versus JJ.
It's got to be Caleb. Caleb has to throw for more yards, especially if I'm saying is true. They're going to not run for a ton, but supplement with the screen game. Those are pass yards.
Has to be. I would agree with that. And I just think, too, just out of necessity of what the Vikings run game can be versus what the Bears run game can be, it's just the gap is just different, too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, almost done here. 2 more categories. Bear gut check. We use our gut feelings, revitalized by kombucha, of course, to give our game predictions against the line. As we mentioned earlier, the Vikings at Bears. The Vikings are favored by 1.5.
I think the Bears win outright, like 27-21 or something like that.
That's not a bad score, actually. So I was going to say the Bears win outright. I think week 1, Monday Night Football, it's going to be weird. Excuse me. I don't think it'll be weird like, oh my God, it's a 9-6 game or something like that, but it's on a Thursday night game. But yeah, something where there's a couple weird bounces here and there, not like a necessarily blowout offensive shootout by any means. I like your number, actually. Tonight's game, Cowboys at Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 8.5.
I think the Eagles cover and beat the shit out of them. I think people are vastly underrating how good the Eagles roster is. Like, they're just really good at football. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
So I do think the Eagles will win. I do ultimately think they'll cover. I think that the Cowboys offense is also going to be better than people are giving it credit for, just in terms of I think Dak will be slinging it this year. CD, and I think George Pickens is a good matchup there. And if CD can, or not CD, geez, if Pickens can keep his head on his shoulders, that offense can be very explosive. But the Eagles are just very good, and that even though
So
8.5 is a big number.
Are you saying Prescott is going Dak to the future?
I hate that. We're moving on for Friday night.
Oh, please stop that. You can't be the dad joke guy and hate that.
I can't be. You're right. Friday night game. By the way, I love that they do this. Don't give me Friday like the rest of this year, but week 1, all about it. Like I fully immersed me in football this first week. Chiefs at Chargers in Brazil. Hopefully the field is better this time. Chiefs are favored by 3.
I think the Chiefs will cover that, right? Like, I think Harbaugh's a really good coach, and I actually think the Chargers are like going to be one of those typical teams. Like, you don't expect much of them, and then you look up at the end of the year and they'll have won 10 games because Jim Harbaugh is a crazy person and gets the most out of everything. But yeah, Chiefs cover and win.
Yeah, some people are talking about this game being closer. I don't see that. I think the Chiefs, I mean, what we think of the Chiefs last year is not what they're going to be this year. Yes, they're missing Rashee Rice, but Hollywood Brown is back. I mean, they just have Hollywood Brown's back. Isaiah Pacheco is healthy this year. I think Travis Kelce is coming in with a renewed conditioning and body this year. This offense should be much more explosive, and I don't see that for the Chargers. I mean, unless Lad McConkey is otherworldly, them bringing Keenan Allen back, have Quentin Johnson on that offense. I like Omarion Hampton, but they also
I was going to say they have my guy, Mason. They have my guy.
But they also they lost one of their starting tackles, one of their best players on that team. I just don't know that they've got enough. Like this is more of a talk to me next year team in terms of the Chargers.
Sure.
Lions at Packers Sunday afternoon. Packers by 2.5.
I think the Packers probably cover and win. I think Detroit is ripe for aggression. You factor in the Micah addition. They're starting a Graham Glasgow at center, a right guard, and Tate Ratledge, who was hurt at Georgia, and now he's starting, and he's been nicked up all off season too. Like, it just doesn't feel like a great starting point for them. And the Packers are going to be juiced up with the Micah addition.
I'm going to go contrarian on this. I do think there's a regression a bit for the Lions because of just some brain drain, but I think the Lions and how Dan Campbell operate are going to come out in the we're going to prove them wrong kind of mentality. I wonder if the Packers come out a little too chesty and are like, we've arrived, and we still have a lot of question marks on that offense when it comes to,
Well, I think the question mark is the quarterback.
The quarterback is a question mark. Matthew Golden, we don't know what he's going to be. Do they have enough on that offense truly to like consistently? I mean, obviously we've seen them as a top, EPA, et cetera, team, but I'm going to take the Lions, right, to actually win and cover. Obviously, but it's kind of a surprise one there. Last one in this category: Ravens at Bills Sunday night. Ravens by 1.5.
I think the Ravens are going to be in the Super Bowl this year, and I think Lamar is going to be a bit mad that he was kind of wrongly not given his MVP for a third time.
He got robbed of that MVP. That was BS.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice about it because I already know I'm the Lamar guy. Like,
in every sense, whether you look at just stats, whether they're traditional or advanced. I mean, you look at
he was the AP first team All-Pro quarterback. He's been the best football player on the face of the planet for the last 3 years. I know Pat Mahomes is still that guy, and when you get to the playoffs, all bets are off with Pat. Like, he's in his Tim Duncan era kind of thing. Like, just get me to the playoffs and we'll figure out the rest later. Like, but Lamar is so good at football. And I think he's going to have a point to prove. And Derrick Henry, until proven otherwise, is a cyborg. Like 32, 2,600, whatever touches later. I kind of don't care until he proves that I should care. Like, I just think they're really good, man. And John Harbaugh is a good coach, and DeCosta is a good GM, and it's the best run organization in football from top to bottom. Like,
Agreed. All right, Coccyx and Bull story. This is our bold prediction section. I got one for offense and defense. What do you got?
I would just say I've got one on offense, and I think Caleb's going to throw 3 touchdowns.
Ooh, that'd be nice. That'd be a nice start to this season. Jeez. I'm gonna push you one further. Not that this is your bold prediction. Who catches those 3 touchdowns?
We'll say DJ gets one. We'll say DeAndre gets one, and we'll say Colston gets his first NFL one.
On DraftKings, there is actually like a fun one. I'm gonna see if I can find it really. I'll try to look for it, but there's like a fun one that's like a nice combo with Colston Loveland catching a touchdown. So if you believe Colston Loveland's going to catch a touchdown, go to DraftKings and I'll try to find exactly what that one where that is. There's a fun one. Mine, kind of similar to yours, a little, I guess, not as bold to be fair, but I had for offense, Colston Loveland and OZ, Olamide Zaccheaus, score a touchdown each. And then I had on defense, Kyler Gordon gets a sack.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah. I'm just
Nickel
all
blitz,
about
baby.
like Kyler Gordon is just one of my favorite Bears. I just need him to stay healthy. And I think with Dennis Allen and how creative he is and aggressive he is, that just matches so well with not just, I mean, Brisker is also a good match with, I think, Dennis Allen, but specifically Kyler Gordon is just like a fun match.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. I'm almost, game specials, found it. Okay. So there's a game special at plus 400. Caleb Williams to have 275 pass yards and Colston Loveland to score 1+ receiving touchdown. So if you want
to do a little sprinkle on that.
Yeah, plus 400. All right. Awesome show. Good to be back. Got some rust. That ad read was rough on my end. So thanks for everyone for bearing with me. And weird to start the season with a Monday night game. I mean, I hate this because now, yes, you get to enjoy your Sunday, but now I'm antsy waiting for Monday night to happen. But yeah, I'm excited about it. Glad the season's back.
Same. It's going to be a fun year, and finally a year with expectations. Don't move your goalpost, Bears fans. This is the year you're supposed to want wins and not start to root for the tank when things go a little south. Like, just enjoy the game, enjoy the season, and football's back, baby. Meaningful football is here.
Too bad it's just simply the Cowboys, in theory, just getting absolutely pantsed. But yeah, all right, but we're here. All right, everyone. Great stream. If you ever have any questions on some injury stuff, always feel free to reach out at West Sports PT. I'll try to answer the questions the best that I can. You can find Danny's stuff at Dan Meehan at 90. Also on Twitter, follow us for updates for the pod and just our musings regarding everything Bears. Bear down, everybody.